Okay, this little, I guess we can call it a white bass coyote. It's based off of Cohen's coyote, and it lends itself very, very well to production tying. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and go through the steps, but I'm not actually going to take and make you wait for the fly to dry. I put the materials list already. I'm using size A rod wrapping thread, about 220, 240 denier. All I'm doing is putting the base down, about a third of the hook shank, not a big deal. Trim off the excess. Grab the lead eye, these are minis. I put the edge of the lead eye right against the eye of the hook. That's how I measure. Too far, a little bit this way. Measure again. Perfect. 1, 2, 3. Torque it, and 1, 2, 3. You want it 90 degrees to the hook shank. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Tighten it down as you make the subsequent layers. Now I'm going to go underneath to bind it like a lashing. That's where I want it. This is the first step that I'm actually going to take and put the materials to the side. I'm going to paint this with fingernail polish. I'm not removing the thread yet. There's a reason for that. I'll show you in just a second. I've coated all of the threads and the eye with this chartreuse fingernail polish. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take 1, 2, 3. I'm going to bind the paint in. 1, 2, 3. Then do a torque around the bottom like a lashing. Then I'm going to tie it off. I'm actually going to cut the thread with my scissors this time rather than what I normally do, which is break it on my tying tool. Okay, so what we have here is a nice painted eye all the way around. I'm going to put that over to the side to dry. I'm going to pick up one that's already dry for the next step, because honestly, watching paint dry is kind of boring. So this one's dry. It's been drying overnight. I have a few of these. When I say a few, I've already tied 6. So the next step is you got to make eyes. This is fingernail polish again, but in an applicator. I'm going to take and clean up the applicator tip to make sure that I'm good with the paint coming out. And of course, I have to make a video for it to take and screw up, right? So how do you recover from that? You take one of your safety pins, you jam it down in there, and it loosens up any dried paint. You could use a standard dull eye pen or whatever you want. But all I'm doing, honestly, is I'm going to take and make a little bitty black dot in the middle of the green. I do that by bracing my shaky hands against the eye of the hook. And there we go. Looks nice and neat. We'll do the other side. There we go, nice and neat. Put the cap back on the paint. And again, I told you, I don't want to take and let you guys watch paint dry, because that's kind of boring. So what I did in preparation for this, I did a few of those. I've got half a dozen of these ready to go. I already got the paint on them. So set those aside. This is the part that I think is the fun part. The lead eyes are ready to go. I'm going to take and put my thread only in the front of the eyes. Trim it off, tighten up my bobbin. Now I'm going to get one of my little assemblies. And I'm going to show a picture of that assembly here in just a second. But the bottom line is, it is a spinner blade assembly. I'm using Colorado size 0. The swivel is a size 14. No, the blade's a 00. The swivel's a 14, and the split ring's a 0. So, anyway. Put it through the eye. And of course, I'm going to show you what I normally do. Kind of give it a downward tilt just to make it easier to go. Now notice what's happened is the swivel has naturally fallen against the lead eye. So what I'm going to do is take and put the thread behind the swivel, pull it up to the lead eye, put it behind the swivel again, pull it up to the lead eye, one more time, and pull it up to the lead eye. There we go. And I put it behind. Mr. Cohen puts it in front. He likes to do his ahead of time and always put them in front, which is fine. I mean, it works fairly well. Now you're going, what is he doing next? Well, you remember that fingernail polish I had, the green stuff? Not done with it. I'm going to paint that swivel and thread into place. Now, while that's drying, let's talk about the assembly. I make a bunch of them at once. But when I buy them, they come individual, and I don't know about you guys, but I can't keep track of them little bitty parts. So I put them on stainless steel safety pins. I put them on stainless steel because any of the other materials, like the zinc plated or whatever, will actually turn and ruin your components. So these are the blades. These are the swivels. Notice they're on nice stainless steel safety pin. These are the snap rings, split rings. The little split rings are a challenge to use, so either use a special pair of tweezers or a pair of snap ring pliers, split ring pliers, whatever tool you get that works, but trying to use your fingernails on these is almost impossible. And when I sit down and do these and sit down and assemble them, I do a few dozen at a time. These are complete assemblies. So that's what I do, but it's not necessary. So while this is drying, I'm going to take it off. And I'm going to get one that's already dry, because I've got a few of them already done. I'll put it in the vise with a swivel up. And I think I've told you guys before, I'm a pretty lazy tire. So what I'm using is I'm using some SF fibers. What color? This is off-white. That shows up pretty good, I guess. You're probably wondering, what is that paper in there for? Guys, I don't know about you, but I'm heavy-handed and really bad about putting things away. And putting the Steve Fahar fiber back into the container is difficult for me sometimes, so I just wrap it with paper and then slide it in. How much of this are you going to use? Not very much. Let me see. Pick out, pick out, pick out. There we go. What have I got? About 30 strands, maybe 30 strands. You can see through it. So I'm going to kind of generally fold it in half and cut it, and then reverse it and kind of give it a loose unstacking. So there's what we have here. None of the ends are even. They're all kind of frayed and laid all over the place. Put my thread back in, just in the front. Wrap it down 3 or 4 times. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of generally find the middle. It's not going to be exact because, yeah, you don't have to be. I'm going to wrap it down. Notice I've got half of the material facing to the front, and I've got the first half on the side facing you guys. So there's a reason for that, I promise. So, and the blade is over here on my side. So the blade's on one side, the material's on the other side. I'm holding that in place. I'm going to flip the blade over to that side, pull the material over to the eye on this side. So what I've done is I've actually split the split ring, the swivel, with material on the far side and near side. Then I'm going to wrap it back loosely, give it a couple of wraps behind, and done. And once I get that done, I'm going to go back up to the front. Now, I've got the back half done, the swivel's nice and clear, everything's exactly as it should be. Yeah, everything's hanging free. There we go. Now, what am I going to do for the top side? Well, I like rainbow. Now, don't get me wrong, you can use any colors you want. Rainbow. Yeah, that's kind of backwards, but okay. It's rainbow. Off-white for the bottom, rainbow for the top. How many fibers for the top? Believe it or not, about the same. About 30. You can count them if you want to, but after you count them a few dozen times, you'll get a good feel for what 30 looks like. Where did I learn that trick? Yeah, we had a fly tying guest that said, here's how many fibers you use. And I thought he was kidding. No, he wasn't. He was serious. All right, so again, a loose unstack. And whatever material's loose, just kind of fold it back in. Again, I'm going to put half of it to one side, wrap it down, half of it to this side, wrap it down, and wrap it down nice and neat. And you can use fly tie, whip finishers, whatever. Then put a drop of glue on there, and the fly is complete. Check to make sure that your snap ring, your split ring, I keep calling it a snap ring. I don't know why I do that. Make sure that you're not bound or anything, so it's hanging free. Works pretty good. Anyway, you want it to dangle in the water. That little flash is absolutely amazing. We caught an absolute ton of white bass on Harmon Creek. That's a little long, so what I'd do is I'd give it a rough trim. Make it kind of a leaf shape, maybe. Any major stragglers. So the whole fly is not quite 2 inches long. How do I know 2 inches? Well, 2 inches anyway. Less than 2 inches long, the whole fly. I'm using a size 6 this time rather than a size 8 like I was using before, only because I have a ton of size 6s. Feel free to ask questions, and that is the entire fly. Thank you.